welcome back to the Junius Maltby channel. Well, today we're going to take a look at a story that's hot off the press, and it's good news. Hopefully it's the final chapter in the story regarding the 1933 U.S. Double Eagle. Many of you coin collectors, and those of you out there who are familiar with the history of U.S. economy, the U.S. financial system, and coinage, should be aware of this coin and the story behind this coin. None of you have ever held a 1933 Double Eagle. Most of us have never even seen one unless you've been to the Smithsonian and seen the two that they have. Why is this coin so rare? Why is it the rarest coin, essentially, of all time? Well, in the 1930s, during the banking crisis, when gold was banned, these coins had been struck and were being held in the U.S. Mint. They were ordered to not be released and to be melted down, essentially. Some of them somehow escaped and ended up outside of the U.S. Mint. Now again, this was the final year these coins were ever to be struck because of that executive order by FDR. Now if he had never done that order, I'm sure they would have minted Double Eagles in perpetuity. If only we could go back in time, right? But he issued the order. Gold was no longer going to be minted and circulated. These ones had already been struck, but they were ordered to not be released, and some escaped. And so that's the Gold Reserve Act, the Gold Confiscation Act. That's a little background history. Again, we're not going to do a whole story on that today, but it is a critical component of the story of the 1933 Double Eagle. So they were struck after the order, but because they were no longer legal tender, most of the coins were melted down in late 34, and some were destroyed in tests. Now, two ended up, like I said, in the U.S. Numismatic Collection at the Smithsonian. And now, this is where it gets really interesting. In August of 2005, the U.S. Mint announced the recovery of 10 additional, and they immediately called them stolen, but you are innocent until proven guilty, right? 1933 double gold eagles. So imagine that. There's only a population of like 2 of these coins. Now I know there's one somewhere in Egypt, and the details of that coin are a little bit rough for me. I don't understand the entire story behind it, but apparently one ended up in a collection, had been basically stolen from the mint during this time period, and it was sold in an auction, I believe, and I'm going to get some details wrong, but like $7 million, one of the most valuable coins to ever hit an auction. And it was in a private collection. It had been held by a royalty over in Egypt somewhere. So that was like basically the third coin, the third wheel. But the biggest population boom of these coins that everybody in the entire numismatic and coin collecting world thought were gone, the biggest population boom that ever took place was in 2005, because immediately the population went from 3 known coins to 13, because the U.S. Mint had recovered 10 additional stolen coins. Now they say they came from the family of a Philadelphia jeweler named Israel Swit. They say that this coin dealer was identified by the Secret Service as a party to the theft, who admitted selling the first 9 Double Eagles recovered a half a century earlier. In September of 2004, the coin's ostensible owner, Joan Swit Langford, voluntarily surrendered the 10 coins to the Secret Service. A little bit of background there. I believe she was actually sending them in to have them authenticated. I'm going to read the rest of this in a minute, but I believe that's the original reason. She wanted to confirm. She found these basically in a drawer in a safety deposit box or something of that nature. I don't have the entire background in this story, but she basically wanted to see if these were real and contacted the U.S. government, who then took them. In July of 2005, the coins were authenticated by the U.S. Mint, working with the Smithsonian Institute, as being genuine 1933 Double Eagles. According to various accounts, Israel Swit had many contacts and friends within the Philadelphia Mint, and reportedly had access to many points of the minting process. A secondary source reports the Secret Service found that only one man had access to the coins at the time, and served prison time for a similar embezzlement in 1940, George McCann. Swett may have obtained the stolen 1933 Double Eagles through a relationship with the head mint cashier. One theory is that McCann swapped the previous year Double Eagles for the 1933 specimens prior to melting, thus avoiding compromise of accounting books and inventory lists. That makes perfect sense right there. Think about that. If he just slipped in a couple 32s and then took the 33s, at that time back then, they were very strict about the accountability process. When they did a coin count, no one's going to check every date. The numbers would have been correct, but some of the 33s that were being melted were actually 1932s. Hence, some 1933s had escaped the mint. I love stories like this, so this gets me pumped up. Now, a judge ruled that the 10 rare coins worth approximately $80 million belonged to the U.S. government and not the family. So this is going back now, since about 2005 till now, this has been in constant litigation and appeals and such. It's been in the court systems. Now, there's the King Farouk. That's right, that was his name. The 1933 St. Gallen Double Eagle coin was originally valued at 20, but one that is owned by King Farouk of Egypt sold for as much as $7.5 million at a Sotheby's auction in 2002, according to Courthouse News. That's the coin I told you about earlier in the video that went to Egypt and then was sold at the auction. Now, so over the course of the last few years, judges have ruled and said that the 10 coins worth $80 million belonged to Uncle Sam. A family battled the U.S. over these coins that were worth millions. Who wouldn't, right? Now, the questions were raised. Who owns these coins? Is it the family? Is it the government? Now, it's one of the world's rarest coins. Here's another article about the story of it. Now, the official Red Book, a guide of the United States coins by R.S. Yeoman, states that the 445,500 Double Eagle coins were produced in 1933 at the Philadelphia Mint. So that was a lot of coins they had to melt down. And imagine, out of that number, only 13 made it out alive and escaped being melted into bars. This is today's news, the big headline. This is the grand finale, the last chapter. Hopefully. I hope this is it. Today I got a phone call from a friend. He said, man, have you heard the news? Have you seen the news? And here it is. U.S. must return rare Double Eagle gold coins to family. Isn't that amazing? They're going to get them back. So the U.S. government must return 10 exceptionally rare gold coins worth millions of dollars each to a Pennsylvania family from which the purloined coins were seized a decade ago, a federal appeals court ruled on Friday. By a 2-to-1 vote, the Third U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Philadelphia said Joan Langford and her sons, Roy and David, are the rightful owners of the Double Eagle $20 gold pieces, after the government ignored their claim to the coins and missed a deadline to seek their forfeiture. The government knew that it was obligated to bring a judicial civil forfeiture proceeding or to return the property, but refused, Circuit Judge Marjorie Rendell wrote. Having failed to do so, it must return the Double Eagles to the Langfords. Patricia Hartman, a spokeswoman for U.S. Attorney Zane Memiger in Philadelphia, said, "We are weighing our options." The Philadelphia Mint in 1933 produced, and then we already talked about that, the whole story that you guys already know, how the coins were melted down, and then the one ended up with King Farouk of Egypt. But great news, the Langfords get their coins back. I'm excited. I hope they are excited. Hey, Langford family, if any of you see this video, I'm on your side. I've been on your side the entire time, and I'm a very happy person that you guys get your coins back. And if you ever get a chance, I'd love to just look at one. The history, the story, the intrigue, just the entire story here that we're talking about. I mean, it's something that you could write a script of. It's movie worthy, right? This is something that should be on film. I would definitely go to the theaters to watch the story of the 1933 Double Eagles. But like everything, there's going to be a little dark side to my broadcast and my story today, and that's going to be the absolute ineptitude, and thankfully so, the ineptitude of the U.S. government. Because, did you catch it in there? They were supposed to file for forfeiture by a certain deadline date, and they just didn't do it. Now, either the U.S. government was too arrogant and proud, thinking they didn't have to, or these prosecutors and these attorneys and these people that work for the federal government were just ignorant and inept. And so they didn't do it. They missed the deadline. And because of that, the family gets these coins back. So sometimes it pays to have an absolutely ignorant and inept government, because it works in your favor and you can end up with $80 million. Had we had a very competent, intelligent, articulate, meticulous, and detailed government that did their job and did their job well, they would have probably filed for this forfeiture, whatever this legal ease is, and this family would have never seen these coins again. But thankfully, our government messed up, and they get the coins back. So they're back. They're in the free market. I expect several of these to hit the auction block within the next 5 years or so. Or if this does take a turn for the worst, and this is not the final chapter, which I hope it is. I hope it is the final chapter. I could see the government digging their heels in and just basically saying, we're not giving them back regardless of the ruling, and blah, 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 blah. Executive order this, executive that. And, just like the mafia, say, we got the guns, come and get them. So, we'll see. Hopefully, they get the coins. This is great news. All right. Everyone give a little round of applause for the Langford family and the ruling. And that's just excellent news. 1933 double eagles, population 13. Thanks for being part of the Junius Maltby channel. Have a great